1 second, and we'll start the recording. All right, evening, everyone. This is Wednesday, March 19th, a regularly scheduled Financial Planning Allocation Commission meeting. This is a hybrid public meeting. The public can attend in person or electronically. The information provided in this agenda contains the link to access the meeting electronically. The public may view the video recording of the meeting on YouTube at Town of Columbia CT. Please allow approximately 48 hours after the meeting for the video to be published. For public input before the meeting, please email your comments to publicinput@columbiact.org prior to the 24 hours for you. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting, and will generally be kept on video throughout the meeting. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or chair.
Okay, thank you. Mark, call to order at 7:02. If those who are able will join me in standing for the pledge of allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Business is the audience of citizens. If anybody would like to speak now, before we have our presentations, we may do that now. Otherwise, we can leave an opportunity for comments after the presentations. Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to approval of the minutes from the February 19th, 2025 meeting. Has everyone received them? And
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
for a second. Is there any comment, questions? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The next order of business is correspondence, which we all received, the only correspondence related to the Board of Selectmen regular meeting. Any questions about the correspondence we received?
We also have King and King's audit report.
Which was part of the packet.
Right.
Well, there's a letter in here.
There's a letter
Yep, there's a letter addressed to FiPAC about, I guess, summarizing the letter.
summarizing the audit. So does I have a few comments about that, but does anybody else have questions or comments about anything that we received? Okay, I wanted to just express my appreciation to particularly you, Bev, because there was an outstanding audit report. The letter was very complimentary, and I know that it is not only small part due to your extraordinary efforts, so we thank you for that. Once again, an excellent audit report. So let's move on to old business. We have an update on the HVAC project at the school.
Yes, we had a very extensive meeting today with all the vendors and our project manager, Jim Russo. Mike Sylvester, myself, our fire marshal, Mike Lester, and they will not be starting exactly on March 24th. There's probably a week delay due to getting off a job before they're coming on to ours. So, but everything is on order, everything's being planned, and the rules and how we're going to all communicate and how the testing is going to be done, and all that was ironed out today. So it looked like, I was impressed with the vendors that we had lined up. They really knew their stuff, and they seemed very optimistic this week.
And we are reasonably confident it will hit the deadline.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything so far to be concerned. So then the school's been very generous in moving their scheduling around to accommodate project. I mean, it's looking good.
Any questions or comments about the report? Okay, and then do you have an update on the short-term financing?
Yes, we met with our financial advisor and the bond counsel. Bill Lindsay, our financial advisor, bond counsel, Mike Patello, and Raphael Kelly, and we're going to bond the 5.5 million. And they're getting started on that. Judy will have to pick up our committee again. So Bev and I,
We're starting with short-term finance,
right,
not the bonding.
well, as part of the bonding, the short-term financing will be $220,000 that we have interest that we have in this budget. The principal of the bond will be handled by the bond.
And the timing
The timing will
take
hit in
bonds.
2000.
will be 26.
The bonding it might happen in 26 or it might happen in 27. The timing will depend on if we want to try to do 3 secondary projects, which would be Pine Street culvert, Thompson Hill culvert, and Doubleday. But based on the timing of those grants and those projects and when they're done with our advisors, and we'll keep finance, FiPAC in fully appraised of the timing, we'll decide if it's worth it to delay the bond, to get everything in one bond, or to issue 2 bonds.
But in either event, 220 is sufficient for this year, and if we need additional short-term financing through 26,
We do it.
that would be in the next budget.
Next budget,
Okay, all right. Any other questions on the short-term financing? Everybody comfortable with that? Okay. All right, new business, overview of the budget documents, which are voluminous.
Yes, and,
And I would just say before you start, wow. 12% increase is a little bit shocking, but I'm
and just,
willing to hear.
from listening to all the cities and towns, we're all in shock. Because a lot of this is the reductions in our land list and our revenues from the state. Plus, all the towns have been hit with increased costs in electricity, in maintaining the facilities, and in roads and culverts. It's just, and our HVAC, giant HVAC project. So it's been like a perfect storm that's hit us, and we'll walk you through it. Sure.
You want to go first, Mark?
Yeah, so right now, well, Barbara's gonna do a presentation, so just in your binder, first you'll see an overview of the main budget document we always review every year. We're not gonna get into this document in detail right now, we'll go straight to our presentations. But you can, this is what you're used to seeing, the state of the budget document, which is everything. And then you'll see there's a summary of the proposed budget. That you want to do the summary?
Oh, the summary, yeah, it's just each section of the budget, it's a comparison from this year, so you can kind of see the changes and the percent change, so I broke it down between operating capital, the grand list, and potential mill rate changes. By not flipping through the document all over, but you should have one page kind of a summary. Yeah. Then the next section has kind of an estimate at this point, which matches the budget document of where we are at the fund balance. If we were to close today, we got all the revenue in, it's got everything in the budget. Shows our projected undesignated fund balance. Just have a reference point to start from.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. With this. The non-share. We don't need that, we don't want this.
I have my laptop.
No, you wouldn't have Al. It's here, we just downloaded it. But maybe if I just get this out of the way.
That's out of it.
So I'm gonna hit share.
So the little file on the very bottom, see the
Uh-huh.
right there.
Hey, March 19th?
Yep.
No, that's, is that me?
No, that's fine.
That's fine. All right, you're in, Barbara. Hold on, let me maximize you.
Pardon?
This one.
I'll put the top all the way to the right. Nope, next one over.
Next one over.
Okay. Good. All right, so that's good.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. You can put it. This is our budget proposal, and first of all, it's nice to see everybody. And before I begin, we too, as Board of Ed, would like to thank Bev for all of her help and work with budget and throughout the year, so thank you very much.
The Columbia Board of, the Columbia Board of Ed. We have, many of our board of ed members are here today. If some of you don't know them, I'll have them give you a wave. I'll go back. There we go. We have our chairperson, Mr. Michael Maziarz, our vice chair, Ms. Christine Sposito, and then we have our members, Ms. Stefania Dietrich. Yes, Lauren Haberman is not here today. We have Ms. Marie Rance, Ms. Rachel Riondo, and Mr. Paul Zager. Thank you. Next, board of, our admin team, two of our members have awards, sports awards tonight. So our principal and our assistant principal in their towns, their children were receiving sports awards. So they couldn't be with us tonight. We have Karen Caputo. She's our director of student services. Right? This is a message that I will share with the town when we present to the town. Basically, it says that we partner with the town of Columbia to create a budget that is fiscally responsible as well as sustainable. Our focus is always students. Focusing on the students, we support our educators and our teachers and on maintaining a safe school environment. Next. So our budget proposal this year that I'm very proud of, and I also thank the Board of Ed for allowing me an extra week and having to go to a special meeting to really let us tweak and go line by line. And I did that with Bev and I did that with the admin team to get to where we are. So we are proposing a $14,809,647 budget for 25-26, which is a 3.45 increase compared to last year. For the town, that would be $14,503,975, which is a 3.53 increase for the town. The difference is we're receiving just slightly less grant money than we received last year. Only $715 less, roughly the same, but that's why it's a little bit different there by a 10% or whatever. Next. So this chart is in, you have that to go over. I put down last year's and this year's in all those areas. I showed you the dollar change and the percent change. You'll see salaries has gone up 9.53%. It's gone up over $600,000. And there is a reason for that. That's not all the raises that folks received. And I'll get to that after. In fact, it's a cost savings. Benefits are up. You'll notice the professional services line has gone down significantly. Again, that has to do with why salaries has gone up. And then some minor changes in there that we'll get into as we go through the presentation. Next. I thought it would be important to share historically where we were. So we're going back to 22-23. And on the bottom line, that's the town's appropriation. You'll see we had a 0% change for the town in 22-23 and roughly a 3% overall. Then the town had a 5.67%, which was up again because of the grant money that was up. Last year we had about a 3% and this year we're at a 3.53. Next. This is just like a picture for you to view. This is as long as I've worked in Columbia. These are all the, to show you the percent increase. This is the 17-18. There was a 2.61. All of these were negative budgets. This was a 0, and then they've been up, a little bit from there. Nice. So these are a copy, again, you have this of our grants. You'll see that for this proposed 25-26 year, we are proposing that, or we anticipate getting 305,000 in grants. Last year was 306,000 and, change there. Roughly, it's the same, $715 less. Okay. So here we go into some of the reasons for. We had an increase in our salary line. So we have added into that salary line 3 positions that used to be in another line. So we use for our therapists, for our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, and our BCBA, board certified behavior analysts. Those positions were in a different line because we contracted with an outside agency. Ms. Caputo was able to hire our own, so we could add those to our salary line at a much lower rate than we were paying the agency. So it's fiscally a benefit, but it's also a benefit for students and it's a benefit for staff. So happy about that. I had tried to do that probably 3 years ago and we couldn't find anyone. But additionally, I have added back into the budget a a full-time STEM teacher, science, technology, engineering, math. Non-certs are just staying the same at this time. Again, that can fluctuate. If we have somebody move in who requires peer support, we may have to hire somebody, but at this time, we anticipate we're good there. Next. The benefit line has gone up 121, almost 122,000. Again, that's an increase mostly in medical insurance that we're anticipating. This is where we have our decrease. So a decrease of 336,000 in this area. Again, Karen Caputo was able to retain certified and highly revered therapists, I might add as well. I'm so happy for our students and our staff. They're going to be directly employed by Columbia. And then we can just continue our outside contracts. And it not only, like I said, is it fiscally responsible, it gives the district flexibility with these positions. There are certain types of things that we contract, well, we don't do that, well, we can't do that, well, we don't do that. Now, they do what the job description describes, and which is what our students see and what our staff needs. Next. This was just the property services, just general increases for garbage, snow plowing, repairs, only 5,400. Next. Purchase services, we have an increase in tuition lines that I'll show you why when we get down there, of 177,000, but we did have decreases that offset this a little bit. Special ed student transportation has gone down quite a bit. Advertising postage goes down. We love the internet. And then employee travel lines have gone down as well. Supplies, we had an increase in electricity, we've had an increase in that textbook line, yet we had decreases in department supply requests, and I will share more on that when we get to that side. But decreases in, fuel, software, and the periodical line. We had, technology-wise, we had a decrease in technology requests for K-8. We're on a good system right now, so, we don't need to buy an abundance of iPads or computers at this time. Band equipment line has gone down. Our band teacher has instituted a family rental program, which is something that wasn't always done here. The district owned many instruments, but now there's families are able to get their own instruments that they can rent through a program. And then our security line went down because we're, now that we have our security officers, we don't need supplies as we did when we started out. And then this is just a small increase of, just based on like stipends and athletic referees, whatnot. So when you look at the graphic that I created, you'll see on that left-hand pie chart, it's broken down into all those areas. So you can see the individual, I think, the 50% is the salaries, and you see the benefits, you see where they all lie in the pie chart. If you were to combine salaries, benefits, and purchase services, that is 92% of the budget. Not that the 8% is disposable, but I found that interesting, that salaries, benefits, and our purchase services tuition is 92% of our budget. And next. So where do we begin? I have to credit admin and the certified teachers for budgeting fiscally. They were asked, the teachers and staff were asked to put in their requests for next year and to rank them necessary. What do you need to open your door and to teach math, to teach the reading? Beneficial, what would help our students? And then if funds are available, this would be really fun. And educational as well, but they rank them in those three ways. Can you go back? So outside conferences and we took those away. We're gonna try to do as much in-house professional development as we can. And then additionally, we reviewed all the positions that have been not filled in the past several years. All right. So these are positions, and this isn't necessarily that these positions were cut. I mean, some were cut, but some of these positions are very hard to fill and we weren't able to. So for instance, elementary Spanish, we couldn't fill that position. Had it been full-time, perhaps, that I would be speculating, I don't know. But over the past few years, family consumer science is gone. That used to be what we used to call home ec. A PE health trainer, halftime, is not filled, the elementary Spanish. We lost a reading interventionist, a coach. We lost our science coach, our STEM teacher. We've lost some time with our psychologist. We didn't replace a gifted, talented teacher, and we lost a math teacher. And any of you are wondering, the FTE is that full-time equivalent. So if you're a full-time teacher, you're a 1.0 FTE. If you work 2.5 days, you're a 0.5 FTE. If you work 1 day, you're a 0.1 or 0.2 FTE. Just to share that next. When we don't fill positions, right, we can go through all the negatives of not filling a position. I'm sure you can, the positives would be you didn't pay for it, but the negatives, the impact on students. So as an administrative team, we looked at all of them. Who was affected? What students? What services were discontinued? What impacts did these cuts have on special education? On scheduling, on contractual issues, on middle school configuration. So with this budget that I'm presenting today, we are proposing to add back 2 positions that I feel are very, very important, and I can tell you why. Due to shifts in teaching staff, we had the 2 positions. By adding 2 back, I really am only adding 1 back, because as we'll get into teachers, there can be a shift in teacher. So I can add 1, if I add 1 position back, it's a big bang for its buck. Next. So, and then before we get into all that too, we are classified, I thought you might find this interesting, into what we call DERGs. All of the districts in Connecticut belong to a DERG, and I think it's A, and I put an attachment on the back of your handout, A through I think I. We are in DERG C, and what that is, it ranks us socioeconomically to similar districts, similar student outcomes. DERG C, like you'll see, it's Bolton's in DERG C, Andover, Hebron, Marlboro, Mansfield, they're in DERG C. So I was curious where our proposed budget fell in the realm of our DERG C. And you'll see that our increase that we're proposing at 3.45 is in 7th place. It's the 7th highest out of 29. So the smallest is Sherman at 0.59 to New Hartford, who's proposing an almost 9%. And then you hear a lot about per pupil expenditure. And I thought you might find it interesting to see where our proposed increase falls in there. Again, we're in 11th place in our per pupil expenditure out of 29. The lowest is Ellington. The highest in our DERG is Region District 12. Going on to capital, we're gonna be hopefully not doing too many capital projects this year, other than our HVAC, right? So we did put aside some money for our kitchen appliances because we have to, they are here and there breaking. The drainage, which is behind this building, the preschool wing, we have to do some drainage work there. But the fencing that was on the capital plan from a year past, we have removed. That's what we're proposing for capital. Next. Enrollment. Excuse me. So this is showing you enrollment from 2020, 21 to current. So you'll see at Horace Porter today, as of today, well, I don't know if this is as of last week, we have 449 students. So from last year, ending in June, we had 477. So we've lost 6% overall in Horace Porter. High school, you'll see, overall from 25 years ago, we're down 12.5%. But if you look at that number from currently at 175 to last year, we are up 16%, which is why the tuition has increased. We have more high school students, and then we're up as well, the other high schools. Next. And this is where I think you'll find this section here. So these are the enrollment, the average class sizes and the grade, and this is for next year. So you'll see for second grade next year, it's 2. Currently, our first grade is 3 sections, but remember, we lost several students this year and we're down. So we are proposing taking that position and making that an interventionist, so it's a wash. But that is how, when I said we're only adding 1 position into the budget, but we're getting 2, that is how. So these are our proposed sections. They're pretty on par with our DERG. And you know, again, we have to wait and see with kindergarten, and we have to wait and see people moving in and whatnot. That's where we are with that. Our personnel. Next. So in last year's budget, what was budgeted was for 49.2 FTE position. Actually, right now, we have 51.3, and that can be due to a number of factors. People leave, people come, somebody leaves who was at the top of the pay scale, somebody comes who can maybe do a 0.1 more and still be below the pay scale for scheduling. So next year, we are proposing going to a 52.3, which is up 1.0 from this current year. Next. Oh, next is thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions. At the end of this presentation, you'll see, I gave you that DERG information. And you don't have this, I do, but one of the positions coming back would be STEM, and that is a position that is enrichment for all students. One of the biggest complaints that we're getting into our office is that we don't have an enrichment teacher, and we don't have this, and we don't have that. By adding the STEM position back, it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It gives all students access to enrichment. It gives our gifted and talented students extra. So it's 3 birds. And then it offers a special, so that for scheduling and for that contracted time that we have to give our teachers, the kids have to have a place to go when the teachers are planning. It offers that. The other position, the interventionist position, I'm adding back because we have had such an increase in referrals to special education with the loss of that interventionist. A parent typically would see that, you know, maybe their child's dipping in reading. And when we had more interventionists, that we were able to pick them up and get them right back. Well, parents are, well, I want my child seen 5 days a week. Well, we don't have someone for 5 days a week, but we're doing what is appropriate. And then they've been referring to special ed. We have approximately 40 referrals to date to special ed. We usually get 10. So by adding that intervention piece back, I am hoping that we'll see that level off. Intervention at the tiered level for regular ed is less expensive than special education, as I'm sure you know. Particularly when the students leave and go to high school, because we pay hourly for that. So that's those are the 2 positions that I really think we need in this budget.
So do we want, thank you very much. You want to do questions first? Yes, as long as it's out fresh in our minds, we do want to do questions now, and then we'll do the town's budget. Sure. Anyone? Yeah.
I've got a question. On the increase in high school students, is this due to move-ins or just higher classes that are moving through? Previous year.
Both, but we had 8th grade was a big class.
I made that too easy.
Yeah, 8th grade was a big class that left last year, so that's the bulk of it, but we did have a lot of move-ins. You know,
Because it's not showing it in the lower grades.
yeah, I would say if you had to pick which one was most impactful, would be that freshman class. That was a large class.
I have a question, Barbara.
Okay, who got them?
Sorry, okay.
Sorry.
I know that RAM is an option for high school kids, and that's beginning this next year. Is that gonna have an impact on our budget at all?
No impact. It's the same, their brand is charging roughly the same as the other high schools charge us, so,
Okay.
yes.
You mentioned that you have one STEM and a couple of therapy type people going in. You also mentioned that you have an 11 point, I don't know the number, 2.4% increase in health benefits.
Mhm.
Can you tell me out of that health benefits portion, what percent of that is rate increase versus the increase of teachers causing that to go to 11.4?
So I can tell you that it's not impactful on the new teachers that we're taking in are not impacting that. I'll let Bev speak specifically to the
No, I'm saying
percentages.
what part of that 11.2 is due to more teachers versus an increase in the health rate?
I'm gonna look to you. There's most of them aren't.
Most of basically the state increase is about 12%.
Really?
So there have been some changes in the enrollment, yeah. There has been some slight change around, that's why it's not a full 12%, because there's been some changing in enrollment where some people left and like a family left, or somebody came in with just, you know, maybe a single or a family plus one, so there's been swapping out, but and then the new staff that's coming in, we try to include that because we have an idea what they want, so that's also causing change, but 12% is what the state is pretty much.
So the state is talking on both sides. Personally, I don't know if you know that UHC and Hartford Healthcare are negotiating and they can't agree on a contract. And the state came in and said, we expect the health care provider, UHC, to offer 2.9%, and that should be adequate. Now you're saying that they're saying it's 11 or 12%.
This is with the.
But for me as John Doe, I'm gonna lose all my Hartford healthcare people. Cause they're only offering 2.9. So just,
We're kind of contracted them for, I think, for the year, I think it's a 3-year
I
agreement.
guess you have better health insurance than
Yeah, we did have a good time.
I do. Okay, sorry, it strikes me that. You know, that's a healthy percentage increase.
It's not fixed yet though, right? So it often does go down
But
from
those-
the
It's
original.
pretty much set now, based on the email we got, that they're coming in about 12%.
And
At least
then,
in our area, our
There was
county.
a panic email today that the legislation's looking at bringing on self-funded plans into the state plan, which they're worried would be an unfunded liability hanging out there of billions for. And wouldn't have-
What I can tell you too, if this helps you, the positions that that are coming out of being contracted,
Yeah.
even with the salary, those folks will earn if they took insurance, which we know who is and who isn't, it's factored in. It's still cheaper than contracting.
Oh,
for an agency.
I just,
So, yeah.
I expected if you got 3 more people and that represents 8% or 6% of the staff, that then that would be the 50-50 due to increases of staff causing it and healthcare, but you're saying it's all healthcare costs.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, who's to say, June 1st, we might get some teacher who gets married and it might change again, so, you know, it's a revolving door with the benefits.
They can't get married after we've decided the budget.
That's right. Yeah.
You missed the original enrollment period. You're done. Judy.
I have a question, about interventionists. Is the interventionist a professional, certified professional?
Correct.
And is that person an educator or do they have a different background?
So they would be typically an interventionist, depending if it's a math or a reading, have a teacher certification, they're a certified teacher, and then they're certified above that into their specialties.
So,
So they have typically, they'll have a master's degree.
so when you say intervention, they're essentially, working on skills, not necessarily behaviors. I sort of made a connection to the special ed comments. that-
No, I mean, the special ed, so interventionists can work on behavior, but they can also work on, that's one area, they can work on reading, writing, math. And we're looking to add it more of an academic interventionist back because of what we've seen in referrals for concerns with reading and math.
I just have a quick comment, not to be critical, but the capital budget. You subtracted something that you're not going to do from two things that you are going to do, so that the total amount isn't right.
Oh, yes. All right, I will.
But it's only 26,000 and something, but it's
Okay.
30,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you explain to me the wash again?
The wash. So currently, we have, it was the first grade, the current students in first grade, there are 3 positions. So typically, they roll up to 3 positions, right? When they go to next grade, we are taking one away due to cuts and the class sizes. So that person theoretically could be the interventionist.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Also, so I don't see any grant, you had a minor setback with grants, it seems it was $700 that you didn't get with grants. Are you anticipating that there's gonna be any further cutbacks in grants or?
I don't know about grants right now, and I stay tuned to federal funding.
I just know what they're talking in Washington about federal funding cuts, I'll just.
Right.
So you've
We
seen.
haven't heard anything specific, we haven't heard that we're getting cut. Connecticut's gonna, maybe I'm being very optimistic, but I think Connecticut's gonna be fine.
Okay.
And if I hear something different, obviously I'll share it.
Are you anticipating, I mean, these are one-time expenditures, I see that you had a slight increase with your math textbooks this year. To purchase new math textbooks. But I remember in previous years, you had to use one-time expenditures. For changing over curriculum, are you anticipating that coming down?
So we're looking, every few years, we have to change curriculum. The reading is set now for a few years, math will be coming up, but it's reflected in our budget, so.
Any more? Mark?
No.
So if I just want to ask a couple of questions about the increased staff. So we're really increasing by 5 over what was budgeted, because 1 was already hired, and then you're bringing in 4 more, the 3 OT, PT, and the behavioralist.
They're already there. The OTPT and behavioralists are already there in the positions. And they're already accounted for. They were just like in a different, paid for in a different line. Does that make sense?
They were contracted.
I understand that they were contracted before.
They're counted in our staff. But they're just in a different line. So they were in purchase services. Professional services.
Professional services,
Professional services,
320.
And now they're in salaries.
And they're not they're not the reason for the 1 that increased
No,
from the budget?
No.
Okay. And then we're bringing in a STEM teacher who is not actually a classroom teacher, it's like a specialist, it's a like Spanish or band or music.
typically a STEM teacher is a certified classroom teacher with a science master's type thing. So yeah, we had a STEM teacher before, who was also our science coach. We're just wanting to bring back
But they're not gonna be one of our full-time in the classroom teaching every day, they're doing specials, they're not doing a.
right, but they'll have a full load of classes. So like your children who go to an art class, they're gonna go to a STEM class.
So I do have a couple things I'd like to ask you afterward, when we're discussing what we'd like for next week, but, I can save those for later. Okay.
Good.
Yes, Art.
So is the STEM teacher, is that they're doing are they doing a science special thing or a math special for the students?
They can do either.
Well, I'm just wondering, what is
Yeah.
the plan for?
What is the plan is to, you know, follow the Connecticut guidelines. And it will be different depending on your grade level. You might do with eighth graders, you might have an engineering unit being done.
Okay, all right,
With our little guys, you might be doing a, you know, the butterfly, you know, I'm just making that up,
Yeah, yeah.
science.
but, all right.
No, I think we did the arrows. Yeah, this is. No.
Certain slides.
It's here, new slide. No.
Oh, we do.
I don't. But I. No.
Well, guys, are figuring this out, can we give Rachel the floor a minute, please?
I just want to clarify too that the the state of Connecticut has legislated that you provide enrichment services for students now that are identified as gifted and talented. Because we don't have a gifted and talented teacher at Porter, the enrichment services have to be a little bit more comprehensive where all students can gain access to it. Otherwise, we're not meeting that legal demand for enrichment services. So that STEM teacher is what covers that as well. It covers the new legislative policy on gifted and talented.
So only STEM is
Oh, yeah.
gifted and talented, musicians aren't gifted and talented.
Pardon me?
Musicians aren't gifted and
That's
talented.
under that's under talented.
Oh,
Talented is usually the arts, gifted is the academic.
So we have the arts side of it.
right, but there's all the English, history, social sciences, so they're not covered, there's no gifted person for them.
Right now, I don't have a gifted teacher. So I don't have a gifted teacher, but
That's,
I'm happy to, I don't know if I'm answering your question.
no, but, I mean, Rachel was saying that you need someone to fill the gifted and talented role, and it's only in STEM, which is great for the STEM kids,
It's
not great
it's not
for
only
the.
in STEM, they already have resources for the other parts of the building, but that's one of the places that when the position was eliminated, we took away that opportunity for gifted and talented in science, technology, engineering, math.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Walter, Town Administrator. I'd like to first thank the Board of Selectmen, Steve Nevert, our first selectman, Christopher Lent, William O'Brien, Judy Ortiz, our Deputy Selectman, and Lisa Napolitano, our Finance Director, Beverly Grillo, for helping both Barbara and I pull this all together, and my Executive Assistant, Jennifer LaVoy, behind the scenes, helping me run the town. Thank you, Jen. Next slide. So this is our, oh, wait a minute. There we go, a revenue picture. So right now, you can see that we're down in revenues by $233,482 or 6.98%. And what makes that up is really license and permits are actually up, but intergovernmental is down 258,000. And if you look down at the bottom, under intergovernmental revenues, you'll have education equalized ECS. ECS is down 76,000. And special ed is down 25,000. And LoSiP reimbursement, because we're actually going to use LoSiP this year, which is a grant, but it's going to bring our revenues down 155,000. So intergovernmental is a big chunk of where we're losing revenue, and really town fees are up, and transfers from rec, that's a wash. So next slide will be the operating budget variables that are pending. As Barbara mentioned, we're looking at a 12% reduction in our 12% increase in our healthcare insurance costs. Town staff, we've had an increase, we had to add an assistant tax collector position. We had tried an experiment by just using a cross-trained employee to help as the assistant, but it didn't work out. We had to go back to a full assistant tax collector. And we also tried with a part-time facilities maintainer position, but we could not find a qualified person part-time, and we had to bump that to a full-time position in order to get a qualified candidate. And our fuel costs, luckily, we really locked into all our fuel costs in the nick of time. The timing was to the point where we contracted for heating oil at a 8.5% reduction, gasoline at a 3.84% reduction, and diesel at an 8.3% reduction. So we did really well there, and that's benefiting both the fire department, the school, and the town. And for next slide, our notables of increases and decreases in our operating budget. Salaries are up of 135,000 for cost of living increases, but also that pays for the assistant tax collector and moving the facilities maintainer position to full-time. Employee benefits for the increases for the 457 pension and 401A pension contributions, that'll be almost 24,000. Group insurance, that 12%, we're looking at 20,000 for the town side. Electricity, due to the Eversource rate increases, is hitting the town at $16,900 increase. Information technology, professional services, IT, Novus, who's our subcontract vendor that does both the school and the town's IT, actually gave us back 18,000 for coming under budget. They had a decrease on a big project, so we had a reduction, but we're going up 7,500 because we have to migrate to Windows 11. That's becoming a requirement now, and the cost of migration, the software and computer upgrades are going to be an extra 7,500. Financial planning and auditing professional services. This year we have to do a Gatsby valuation, and that'll be 6,725 to complete the actuarial part of the audit. And police protection, we had our resident trooper got promoted, and we just brought in a new resident trooper. His name is Trooper Gary Allen. I just met him today. Great young man. He just came back from Iraq. He had a 1-year deployment. He's in the Army Reserves, and he was a trooper before that. He just got all his recertifications, and knows the whole area really well. He's going to be a great fit. But he's starting at a much lower step rate than our previous trooper, so we'll say 41,000 with our trooper. Firefighting, the $18,000, all their expenses to run the fire station has gone up just like the town, but they've also have increased. It's a contribution to making all your calls. It's not so much a stipend, it's more of a remuneration. Thank you. And that's in order to keep our volunteer fire department willing to continue to get up at 3 a.m. and go do all the great things they do for us. And amazingly, we're still a town that does not have full-time firemen. So if we can keep that going and keep the volunteers happy and doing the great job we're doing, that's keeping that fire line down probably by $500,000 if we ever had to go pay staff. Public Works, contracted service and repairs, DPW had increased vehicle and maintenance requirements of 17,000. Waste management, we had an increase in our contract with Casella Waste. Towns all over the state are seeing waste increases, mainly because we still don't have a great plan for our waste, we're still shipping it to Pennsylvania, Ohio. And facilities maintenance. That is really the facilities of all our buildings for the town. We had to increase our maintenance line for repairing everything from HVAC to furnaces to garage doors to what else? Plumbing, oh my gosh. I don't even get me going on plumbing. I think we actually, our last facilities, I think he left due to plumbing. The libraries in the back.
No comment.
Don't tell me. Anyway, that's gone up 18,000 and the library services, have gone up 17,000 and they're full. As we go further, you'll see their full presentation in the back of the binder, which explains it in more detail, but a lot of their costs are going up, including cleaning, including the cost of audiobooks. And their benefits went up right along with all of us. So you can get a more detailed explanation there, but so notable increases of 291,000, notable decreases of 59,000. So the overall increase, when you look at the whole budget, is 292,000 in operating, or 5.46%. Next. This is an explanation of where we are in the HVAC financing that we had just briefly talked about. But we've really had to appropriate the budget from the original $6,175,000 to, once we went out to bid, it went up to an $8,376,000 budget. Without any increase in the grant from the state. So the state grant stayed at $3,169,000. And the project is still on track to start in March. And we will be doing our bonding of the 5.5 million, which is what we've authorized through a bond authorization. And I think the first payment to the contractor that we chose, Save More, I just signed the check today.
Wow.
So that was over $100,000.
Yes.
First payment. And mainly that's a lot of the equipment we're getting, they were staging to get the project going. Next. Capital appropriations. So a big part of this budget, and in my capital detail, you'll see road surfacing. So we've hired a company called the Beta Group, and I'll get into more detail. I'm just gonna give you a thumbnail right now, but to maintain the quality of our roads where we need to be, we really have to increase road surfacing from the 250,000 we had last year to almost 600,000. And it'll actually go up year by year a little bit. So that's a $345,000 increase in road paving and maintenance. Box culvert repair. From 100,000 to now 263,000. That's 2 slip line culverts. We do have an idea to take that out of the budget. The Board of Selectmen have authorized myself to go forward, working with the Public Works Director and Beverly. We're going to try to use our LoSiP money we get from the state. We have almost 60,000 right now, or 150.
About 200,000.
And then we'll have another input of the LoSiP. We're gonna use that LoSiP money plus a little bit from general fund to pay and get that 263,000 out of the budget and do it now. And we'll go out to bid soon. So that'll reduce my capital request by over $250,000. DPW capital equipment, that's actually, the request has gone down. We bought a new truck last year at $274,000. This year we need another truck, but it's a much less expensive truck, a Ford 550, which we use for plowing and running the town. That's one of our smaller pickups. So that's $225,000 vehicle. So it's a savings of $150,000 from last year's budget. Improvements to the buildings, that's gone up considerable. We've been making a major investment in HVAC in all the buildings. We keep an HVAC fund of about 30,000 a year, Beth.
20.
20? I think I think we need 30. But we've been having furnaces really die on us. We're having trouble. So right now, we'll be bringing 20,000 into our HVAC fund. Exterior painting of 20,000, a fire alarm system. We're going to antennas instead of direct line to our fire alarm systems. We've been having trouble with direct lines. We tried it as a test with the library. That's working, but now your attic sensor is not working so wonderful, so we have to fix those next, the heat sensors in the attic. A lot of our infrastructure is older and it's starting to malfunction. So we're coming up with new ways of replacing everything that'll have a longer life. And we're going to try to preserve the Moore's Indian School roof, the wood roof of the antique school with a preservative on that. So the total increase in expenditures for capital of all our facilities is $63,000. And the senior equipment, oh wait, before I get there, we had a savings in dam mitigation repairs. We had originally, I think 40,000 put aside for dam repairs, or 50. We did the dam repairs, they came in much less. We found a great contractor. He had to go underwater, scuba gear, and replace the gate of our major dam on Columbia Lake. But we're able to take back 35,000 out of that budget. So we're leaving 5,000 because we still have to do a dam inspection. Thank you. So that's for that. Senior center equipment. We're starting to replace some of the tables that are used in the main hall. People inadvertently leave their fingers in the middle when they slam it open, and there's scars to prove the danger of those tables. So we're starting to cycle out tables, and then we'll leave the dangerous tables to our facilities maintainers to put them up and down. We'll bar them from the public. So we have tables and chairs coming in at $20,000. And the senior center vehicle, we need 15,000 for a match. We really have an active use of both the van and the med car. But what we found is the 14-passenger van, anytime someone is handicapped in a wheelchair, we have to take that 14-passenger van when it might be one person going to one call with a doctor. So, and the van is starting to age out. We'll qualify for a grant. We wanted to get a rear entry SUV that a wheelchair could wheel in the back of the SUV. And that has a lot of benefits. It's a lot better ride, and we can get someone to their appointment. We'll still have the van for wellness trips, because we still use it to take 14 seniors out to lunch or shopping or to the bank or wherever we want to go. But medical is a primary use of the medical car, and if we get this grant, the SUV car. Hazardous tree removal, we're starting to catch up. We had 62,000. Actually, we had 100,000, and we're going to with that 100,000, the tree removal we need for this spring and next year, and we think that'll be enough. So we will not budget more money this year, so that's a savings of 62,000 from last year's budget. Marine Patrol boat, we use the remainder of our ARPA money, and we replaced the Marine Patrol boat. The old boat was getting to the point where it was requiring too much of an investment to keep it running. Luckily, we did sell it to East Haddam. They gave us a nice price for it, and with the ARPA money, we replaced it and have a new boat, so we should be in really good shape for quite a few years. The fire department, I can go in much more detail, but they've come up with a great plan. They went from 271,000 in capital last year to upping it to 310,000. But what they've done is, instead of needing $1 million for one of their engines, the 105, it's more than $1 million. It was $1.4 million. they decided to not replace the 105. Because their staff is smaller, their ability to roll both the 205 and the 105 usually is not possible, so they're gonna focus on replacing the 205. And they're taking the money from the 105, rolling it up into their savings account for the 205 replacement. And they'll run the 105 until it dies. So that whole strategy is cutting $1.5 million out of their long range capital budget. So that explanation is a really, it's forward thinking on their part to really look at the budget instead of just what their wants are, what are their true needs for the fire department. And so the total right now, we're looking at going from $983,000 capital budget last year to $1,362,000. But the untold story is, we actually, if you look down the yellow on the first line, the 955 had an additional $499,000 general fund authorization in order to do the HVAC project. So our capital budgets with the authorization for HVAC and the capital we had, plus what I'm requesting this year, are almost the same dollar amount. We just did it in a general fund authorization plus the normal budget last year, and now it's all in the budget. But I'm hoping I can reduce that $1,379,000 by $263,000 by using LoCIP money. Next. So this is a wrap up. Board of Selectmen operating budget is up 5.4. Board of Ed's operating budget's up 3.5. Our debt is up 100% because we've gone from 4 years of no debt to now our first debt payment of $220,000. And our capital is up 46%, but in that 441,000 is going to come down by 263,000. So that's going to start looking a lot better. Contingency staying the same at 78,000. The dog fund had to go up a little to 2,300 because our dog pound was not passed by the state. We knew it wouldn't be. We haven't made the investment in bringing it up to state specs, but we have a regional agreement with East Hampton, East Haddam, and we use the East Haddam pound. So I had to go into agreement to solidify using their pound by giving them $250 a quarter to put our dogs in their pound. So it's an extra $1,000 for the use of their pound, and we had a cost of living go up for the part-time and full-time animal control officer. And everything else pretty much stayed the same. So we're looking at a total appropriation increase of 7.09%, which I'm hoping will be coming down by the time we meet again. And here's our pie chart. Showing the board of selectmen at 25.8% of the budget, debt now at 1%, capital at 6.4%, and other at 0.7%. The board of ed is 66% of the budget. And then as usual, we do a where we are at this moment. If nothing changed and I didn't use LoCIP to reduce capital, we'd be at a 3.38 mil increase. We'd go from a 28.12 mil to a 31.5 mil. And another part of the picture I'll talk about in a minute is our grant list went down 1.13%. And that's really due to the state and what they did for the car taxes. They our real estate actually went up. But I'll get into more detail. Our car taxes went down in value by 19%. Because they're now valuing cars based on MSRP, not based upon what they're valued at by Blue Book. And they have a straight line depreciation now. I think it's a 10-year straight line. I think so. And then the lowest they'll get is $500 a year. After that 10 years straight line depreciation. So we have a mill rate impact. I know Barbara was saying Hebron, but we were looking at $1,000
Over.
over. Well, right now in Columbia, we're looking at for a $350,000 house if no changes are made to this budget. And if I didn't use LoCIP to take out $250,000 in capital, we'd be at a property tax increase of $828. So we'll keep working to go through the process to get that down. And the mill rate history, we've really held our mill rate pretty steady. The 2022-23 was a revow. And next year we'll have a statistical revow. We'll be starting getting ready for 2026. Full revow was 2021. And I'm available for questions. And then as you look back in your book, I'll just walk you through a few more pages. The assessor grand list. If you go to the next section, that's my presentation. You'll see that the decrease in assessed value of the whole town went down $6,693,000. And I don't have this auto. Here's auto. Auto is down 10 million in value based on this new way of valuing our cars. So we lost 10 million, and our grand list, the real estate actually went up. But automobile, personal property went up. Real estate went up $1.9 million, personal property $1.4 million, and automobile down 10. So that led to our decrease in grand list, which means we have to make up for it in the mill rate increase. And then if you go one more, this is a document we already got in the tri-board meeting, under Board of Ed minimum budget compliance report. And if you have questions on that, you can talk to Beverly and Barbara.
You're not done, Barb.
And then, as we get to the next screen sheet, it's called the proposed 5-year capital improvement plan. So what I've just gone over is the summary. This is the detail of every department's capital request. And what you can see on the first page is road resurfacing. So here, and behind road resurfacing, you'll see what's called the pavement management program final report. We contracted with the Beta Group. And I didn't give you the entire report. I certainly have that available if you really wanted to minutia of every road. But this overall report shows you that if you go to the breakdown page where you see the chart of an expenditure, it looks like this, like a home. Right here. This shows that if you spent 100,000 a year in a road, your roads would not survive. 300,000, which is what we were spending, we would be down at a 70% value for our roads. 450,000, we'd be just breaking even, maintaining the roads. And what we're steering more for is a 600,000 a year investment, which would keep us up more in a B range of the roads. In order to achieve an A range, we'd have to spend 800,000 a year. And they break it down into all the different valuations, what they cost per square yard to do a major rehabilitation, a reconstruction, a full depth reclamation, and then minor rehabilitations, preventive maintenance, which is overlays, rubber chip seal, microsurfacing. So this is a very, very detailed report. And I included the major roads that need major rehab, and you can see the list. And those will start working into the budget. One of them is, in this budget, is Mallard, and also, I think, Mallard and I'm looking for it. Maybe Lakewood. But that detail will show you how we're coming up with our road maintenance program. And then you'll get into all the other capital areas, like reval. We put money away every year to do our reval. Capital equipment, you'll see the board 550. And, they pulled out at the Board of Ed level, they had requested a John Deere skid steer. But they pulled that out of the budget, just based on the fact that we had to start making cuts. And they'll wait for a future budget to try to get the skid steer. Transfer station, HVAC fund, we talked about that. Facilities, we talked about those dollar amounts and what makes that up. And bridge repair. What we're going to do with, the Hop River Bridge is almost done. That's one of the items. We're carrying 24,000 for punch list items on the Hop River Bridge, but that bridge is complete. And we're just waiting to close that out until they get them punch list. Tree hazard we talked about, senior center equipment we talked about. Transportation van, marine patrol. Base. And the one area I wanted to touch on is we're going to be coming back to the town for 3 main projects we're working on. Pine Street culvert, we got a 50-50 grant from the state to pay for that project. Thompson Hill, we've applied for a TRIP grant in Council Regional and Governance. The TRIP grant, only 8 towns qualify for a TRIP grant, which is rural towns. For road and culvert remediation. So in that TRIP grant, is an 80-20 grant, 80% paid by the state, 20 by the town. So we're trying for the Thompson Hill culvert replacement. Both were ranked poorly. Pine Hill, we've almost lost Pine Hill and Thompson. Pine Hill, we almost lost. Thompson came close in 2 of our major rainstorms. We lost half the road. But because we didn't use the head walls, Public Works was able to put them back together, but it's one storm away from not having the ability to go down Pine Street. So those are in the works. And Doubleday, the metal culvert infrastructure in Doubleday is collapsing. We're having sinkholes, and it wasn't designed robust enough to handle the amount of water flow coming off the sides of Doubleday through other suburbs. And Doubleday is being analyzed and engineered right now, and we're going to go for possibly an earmark. We're trying with our state senator for help with Doubleday, or it might be eventually a steep grant. But we have to have it engineered first. So those 3 projects, once we can get our hands around them, exactly what they'll all cost, I'd like to come before the town and get a bond authorization for those 3 projects to actually then handle the payment of those once we know where we are. So that's all I have.
That's all. That's enough. All right, does anybody have questions for Mark regarding the town's proposal? Okay, hearing none, let's, talk about the grant list, we can talk about that.
Well, we kind of gave an overview, we just went through it all.
Yeah.
Covered that.
I covered that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with that 7.5, or anything,
Okay.
if anybody has.
So I think you guys have something you want to
Just.
Okay. Sorry, so, I think this is the point where we should ask, because we're gonna have our, budget workshop starting next week, and so we will have, I assume you'll come back and Mark will be here.
Mhm.
So we'll be able to ask specific questions after we have a chance to review this in light of the presentations that we've had. So if there are specific questions based on what we've seen tonight or heard tonight, that we would like either of Barbara or Mark to be more prepared to tell us about, this is the time to ask, so that we're not asking them next week and they're like, oh, we'll have to come back a week later and get that answer for you, so
Or you can always email
we can.
as you go home and review it in more detail.
But if there's anything specific that people would like to have more information about now, if you've thought of anything, ask now. I do have a couple things if nobody else has any questions. Bev, you gave us this summary of the undesignated fund. Showing about 16%, this shows about 15, so it's pretty close. are you in here, can you point to me where potential additional increases are,
So I haven't,
or do we not have that number?
you mean, oh, yeah, so.
Like return from this year's budget.
So
Either the
I
town.
didn't do that yet.
Okay.
I'll try to start working on that because it's kind of early, but I
It
did
is.
usually I start doing indications. Once this get through, I'll start doing some indication, looking at variances and I'll add it into this so that as we go through, because right now, I know on the town side, there's certain lines that I have to go through and fix, but there's other lines I know, so I'll start adding variances for next week, so you'll have an updated budget document.
Perfect, okay, that's very helpful. I'd also like to see if we could recalculate what the numbers would be if we showed a 99% collection rate instead of a 98%.
That's
How would that impact the budget and the mill rate? So we can evaluate. Yeah, and it's a pretty significant difference, I think.
And then the LoSiP grant, we can look at how that helps.
Yes, that would be great. And then could you calculate, because you're the math person here? So what, what the budget numbers would look like if we took 1 mil from the
Oh, yeah,
undesignated fund versus 2?
you wanna start
So that we
doing that
have-
early?
Just so we know, so we have some sense of what the impact would be if we were to go down these roads.
All right, so you want to, yeah, use the general fund, you got a couple of scenarios to kind of show that.
Yeah, just for informational purposes at this point. And then do we know for sure the numbers on the state grants, Mark? You had them in your budget, but I don't know if it's a better question for you, Barb. Do we know for sure that the state grants are gonna be reduced by that amount?
No,
that's still
we're
sort of
still
up
in
in the air.
session. We're still in danger.
So these are the proposed changes
Right.
going into the budget right now.
What we
This could
know
go up,
today.
it could go down more.
Yeah, the only one that is a guess also is the special ed excess cost grant. We know it was going down because there's less kids possibly qualifying based on the thresholds and coming in this year, so I tried to be conservative on that one. But then there's supposedly money coming more, but that's just for this year and they haven't announced next year at all, so.
Do we know if we're getting any more this year based on the recent legislation that passed?
Right now, it's a guess, because right now they have sent notice that they may be asking the town to give back some of the money they've already allocated to us, based on the final report on excess cost kids. But then they said, hold off, because the legislation is changing, so it may wash that. So it's a best guess again for now, so that number, I'm not gonna touch that.
I've never heard of giving back. I can
We-
imagine they would short us
We
what we qualify for.
We did, if they catch it before the end of the year, we had to do it a couple of years ago. It wasn't that much. They said we want it back. If they catch it after the year's end and after I do that big, annual Board of Ed report, then that impacts the ECS grant. So it's whether you give it back now or later, they will, once they do all their auditing and stuff. So this doesn't mean that when they do the audit next year, they might say, okay, you still gave me too much, so. So those grant funds are kind of in flux.
Alright. And then the one thing I would like to see from the Board of Ed is if we can have a breakdown of the salary, what percentage of that increase is related to increased wages, because we know those are contracted, versus what are the differences in the additional positions? The new hires,
You mean
and the
take
proposed.
those hires out and then?
Yes, so if we took those out, what would the difference be? So we can differentiate and then compare them to the contract costs that we had. So we can see those differences.
So you want me to take out all the new positions that were on the salary line?
Yeah, so that we know,
So
Exactly
the
what is-
therapist,
yeah, just what is related to increases based on raises. And then versus what is that's associated with the new employees.
So you want,
And you can mask,
you
of
wanna show,
course,
you wanna show what's current employees period without any changes.
right,
And
with,
then separate out the other changes.
Right.
Okay.
and then I'd like to see a comparison of what the contract cost was for those positions. Masking, obviously, being confidential.
Yeah, those costs would always be this year, because they didn't look to see what it'd be next year, so.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean, so the budget, you said a $336,000 reduction, so I'm assuming that is that just for those three, or is there other contracted costs that contributed to that reduction? Okay. Anything else before we go on to transfers?
Was there any departments or groups you wanna come in to ask questions to?
I am okay, I don't need to see anybody, but does anybody else have, do you wanna see the library or the fire department, ask questions of them? Public Works,
None of this.
I'm good with that,
Yes.
good, tell them thank you for their budgets. Okay, so, let's do transfers. So this is just the boring stuff you get one of them, then you do that.
It'll
Well,
be-
before we do that, is there any public comment or? I know I said I would offer an opportunity for people in the audience to ask questions before we wrapped up, so if anybody has questions or comments now, happy to take those before we do the transfers.
So I actually do, Christine Sposito, 62 Doubleday Road. Do we, when does the public have an opportunity to ask questions about the board of selectmen budget? Like, I know the school budget, but
So-
this is the first seeing this, and I know that you guys don't have questions about this, but I have plenty of questions about this.
Well, we don't have questions tonight. We have several special budget meetings, so if you want to wait, we'll talk about the meetings that are coming up, but
Sit
the
on it.
public
Exactly.
hearing is on April 23rd. But you can attend any of our special meetings and ask questions then too.
If there's usually no audience, it says it's during the
Oh,
special
during
meeting.
workshop.
Sorry, Beth.
That's right. yeah.
But,
If you want to email me questions,
yeah,
I can answer whatever questions you have.
Yeah, I actually don't mind if you hear the question, like, I actually.
Yeah, you
would love to
listen,
bring
have
things
this
to
one.
the bypass, like,
Yeah,
essentially,
sure.
the things that I see,
It'd
so.
be nice.
go on, Teresa.
yes, yes.
But there were budget workshops throughout the last month,
Okay,
every
maybe
Tuesday
that's-
that were, public meetings.
Yeah,
That anybody could attend it. Some of them, I think, if you wanna go on the YouTube to see some of the recordings, you can. And then if you have questions, you can always even send an email.
Plus, the Board of Selectmen budget workshops have detailed minutes, pages of discussion on
I
everything
understand.
they come up with, so that's another source. as well.
But certainly you can come to the special meetings, the workshops, even if you can't comment, you can ask questions afterwards.
And then this is the first time that FiPAC is seeing both of these budgets, right? You're not,
Correct.
you don't have like separate meetings
No.
for board, no,
Nope.
okay.
This is our first meeting
Which
with
is
all
good,
budgets.
just wondering,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Okay, so transfers.
They're in your budget, the last tab or
Their
something
last
like that. So, well, we're asking for $10,000 from contingency, to establish a community emergency management fund, as part of our social services, fund. It's to help out with emergency needs like, code issues. In the last couple weeks, we surfaced up with some of these fires we've had in town, and there've been some issues. There's also been some legal issues, so this fund is to take care of the town costs associated with it.
We have one property we've been working on for 20 years. We finally got a court order. We just cleared half the property, but there's a cost for doing that, which will mean the property for, but we probably won't see that.
You're talking, John.
What's that? No, this is, on the end of 87,
Okay,
right, the airline trail.
yeah.
Well, the old bus that was there for decades.
Oh,
No,
yes.
no. So, but we need a fund to actually
So,
upfront these costs while we wait.
so that's what Fund 33 is, it's just, so it's like Area 51.
It's where things get taken care of.
This is just the
So
budget.
this is forever going forward, this is like a new fund that.
It's
was
going to be a
created.
fund that we'd like to, in the budget, we're adding more to this fund, so we have a better working capital.
All right,
That story.
and how much will this leave in contingency after we take this? Do you have a?
Probably about 30, around 30. We've used quite a bit this year.
Not
We
overly
had 30.
concerned, we'll need that in the next couple months.
Well, we're not sure yet. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
All our
Because
emergencies
if
are
we
here.
run out,
So some of our variances and other departments might be able to cover some of the shortage, because electricity is a very big concern right now. And I think we're gonna have some issues, and there's some other lines I'm not gonna touch base on right now, that I'm hoping we can shift from other lines without going to the general fund, but there is one that's gonna go to a town meeting, just because of facility repairs, it's too large. It's too large, we need a town meeting, so we're just trying to figure out where to get that from. If it's still within our budget lines, then we'll do it, if not, it will be a general fund.
okay, and you don't think, I mean, the timing, we can't wait on this until
We
Oh,
have,
later.
We just got
in the season?
$8,000.
we have two issues right now. that
Alright.
go on.
Alright.
So that, between that, if we get that recouped plus the budget for next year, it's 25,000 to bring it up to,
Where you want it,
what we consider it's a nice healthy start to have. We figured this would be the best way to do it.
okay? Does anyone have any questions about this?
I'll make a motion to accept the transfer as presented.
Right, second,
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
First chance.
And Jeff, is this your last meeting?
No.
No? Still hanging with us?
Our budget meetings.
All right,
Yes.
good.
All right, so our next meeting is, next week, special, budget workshop. Come with your calculators. Alright.
7.
At 7
Seven.
here, yep,
In here.
is there a motion to adjourn?
I move.
That
Second.
objection, so ordered.
And wait, what time is it? For the recorder, it is 8:28.
Never. I don't like this seat, I can't see the clock.